While Baylor is dedicated to providing the highest levels of scholarly teaching and research for our graduate students, we want them to be able to grow spiritually as well as intellectually. We've been intentional about these matters, providing opportunities for our graduate students to explore the relationship between their discipline and their faith. However, Baylor claims to be a Christian research university in the Baptist tradition. But until a few years ago, the graduate school didn't have much programming that intentionally reflected our Baptist roots. I asked Associate Dean Lane Scales to develop a program for students who want to explore not only what it means to be a Christian chemist or historian, but what it means to teach those subjects at a Baptist university. And I could not be more pleased with the programs that Dr. Scales has developed.
In the BCU program, we take in a select number of Ph.D. and MFA students who come to us to study at Baylor, and they come from IABCU affiliated universities and colleges. They come because they want to be faculty members in colleges like those they came from, Baptist schools, and while they're here with us, we provide programming for them. We have meals, fellowship, readings. We hear from guest speakers like the historian Bill Leonard. We read books like Walter Sheridan's Four Fragile Freedoms. And through these experiences, their Baptist identity is deepened and their commitment to work in Baptist universities is enriched. Our BCU scholars have opportunities to engage in programming such as the Young Baptist Scholars Seminar, which is in Oxford, England. Some of them may become Schmeltikoff Fellows, which is a fellowship honoring those who would like to go into administration, and honors Don Schmeltikoff, one of the IABCU's lifelong contributors. In this video, you'll get a small taste of the BCU program. You'll see us gathering in someone's home for a meal, discussing texts about Baptist identity. You'll see someone teaching in the classroom, an important practice for future faculty. And you'll hear firsthand from 4 of our 18 BCU scholars about how this program has shaped them and contributed to their future as faculty members in Baptist institutions.
My field of study is English Renaissance literature, so I'm a Shakespearean by training. I did my undergraduate work at Mercer University in Macon, Georgia, which is a Baptist-affiliated small liberal arts college, and I was an English major there. Something that was really significant about my time at Mercer was just that initial exposure to a small liberal arts college. The teachers were there to teach, and I think I got some of my strongest pedagogical training from my undergraduate institution. And just walking back onto the campus itself, you feel that rush of nostalgia, but not in a cliche way, I think. I think it's really easy to say someone's a liberal arts graduate and they go back to their institution and they have this feeling of deep pain for what they have had to leave behind. But instead, it just made me feel more excited about where I was going and why I was doing a PhD to begin with.
I study history, particularly 20th century U.S. history. I went to Wayland Baptist University. I was looking for a place where I would get a good college education, a place that was accredited, but a place where I could enter a Christian community as well. The entire history faculty were very influential in the amount of commitment they gave to not only instructing me in classes, but outside the classroom. The university as a whole, and in the history department, I knew I was working with people who were committed believers as well, and so they really showed me that you can have academic excellence and be committed to your faith.
I'm currently doing my PhD in New Testament Studies. I went to Southwest Baptist University in Bolivar, Missouri. But in New Testament Studies, we have this unique platform where we get to talk about these things we love and these things that are so meaningful to our identity in a way that's very different, I think, for most students coming in. As a 17-year-old freshman, I'm sitting in this junior class on argumentation and debate, and Dr. Derryberry leaned over the desk at me because I hadn't spoken in the last 10 minutes or so, and he said, "Everyone be quiet." And he just looked at me, and he was like, "Young scholar, what do you think about this idea?" And I remember thinking it was the first time anyone ever called me a scholar. And it was sort of a humbling moment, I think, to realize that people here were going to think of me in that way.
So I studied New Testament and Christian origins at Baylor. My time at Gardner-Webb University is really what got me interested. I was a freshman sitting in an introductory course in the Old Testament, and I remember the professor really pushing us to think critically about the biblical texts cited on religious studies. And I think that goes back to the freshman course that I was in as a first semester freshman studying the Old Testament. I study New Testament and Christian origins, so from my perspective, my particular university at Gardner-Webb University prepared me very well for my master's and Ph.D. program because it taught me how to ask tough theological questions and also to use the tools of historical inquiry. For me, education is really more about asking questions and exploring curiosities rather than finding all the answers.
I think that Christian higher education, and specifically Baptist higher education, is important because one of the key principles of being Baptist is freedom, and I think that has a great basis in academic freedom.
Baptist higher education really helps individual students prepare themselves for not just making money through a career, but contributing in their local surroundings.
I also think that that God is a creative God, and that all creation is God's creation. And so for that reason, I think that it is incumbent upon us at Christian universities to listen to all voices and to explore things from all angles.
Education's meant to be transformative. So it's really a question not just about what is our goal, transformation, but a real specific question of what are we trying to transform people into? And I think that's what makes Christian higher education so important.
It's been encouraging to be with other PhD students who are crawling through the PhD process and all the stress that entails, but people who are like-minded and we want to go back and contribute to the Christian University.
One of the most valuable aspects of the BCU Scholars Program is the fact that it gives students who've grown up in this tradition and want to continue and give back to the tradition that they love a place to talk about how we do that most effectively.
The thing that has been most helpful about BCU for me has just been connecting with other people who come from the same small liberal arts college experience that I come from, people who come from Baptist higher education. They have a lot of the same values for what makes a good classroom, and they have a lot of the same end goals.
Every semester we get together for sessions on campus and even off campus, and the ability to discuss faith and learning.
I believe that the most valuable thing about the BCU Scholars Program is just the affirmation that Baylor's graduate school is giving us, that they care about us returning to institutions that were extremely formative for us.
Go Bearcats!
Go Camels!
Hey Bison, go with Corinne.
Go Bearcats!
Go Bison!
Go Bulldogs! You!
Go Mercer Bears!
Go Pioneers and Signal Bears.
Go Running Bulldogs!